From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on this Saturday. I'm Alina Hauter. The 2024 presidential election may only be about 3 weeks away, but another election is happening right here in Montana today. Our Matt Carmack takes us to the Crow Reservation, where they're holding their primary elections.
The executive primary election was held at Crow Agency on Saturday. And although there's plenty of differences between the presidential election outside of the reservation, there's still plenty of similarities. The 2024 presidential election is coming right around the corner. And while this may be a stressful time for many Americans trying to figure out who to vote for, over at Crow Agency, Election Day is a celebration and festival with free food and live music.
It's just tradition. Ever since we've had elections, this has been the part of the process. You get together, you cook, you feed everybody, and it's just a good time to celebrate.
All around Crow Agency, candidates host parties and cook for voters as a way to express gratitude.
We're offering meals because everybody's vote is important. We encourage everybody to get out and vote. You know, one single vote is very important to all of the candidates.
Where the U.S. presidential election is between two candidates, an election on Crow Agency consists of 4 different positions: chairman, vice chairman, secretary, and vice secretary.
Behind the scenes, there's a lot of moving pieces.
Instead of parties, candidates are a part of factions, and they run together as a slate, a campaign strategy where multiple candidates will run together with similar political stances.
That's part of the strength in having a slate coming together. You'll see some of the other candidates is just by themselves, so they're doing everything by themselves. So
at Crow Agency, candidates work and self-fund all of the meals and campaigning, meaning those thousands of free meals came out of pocket.
We're not allowed outside money. What I mean outside, any non-tribal member or entity can't donate to our campaigns.
The general election is set for November 2nd, so candidates like Levi Black Eagle, Chanice D. Whiteman, and Lawrence DeCrane are busy campaigning for their second term.
Strength and stability. It's for the whole Crow people. It's exactly what we're working for.
In Crow Agency, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
The race to replace Congressman Matt Rosendale in Montana's Eastern Congressional District began with a crowded primary field, but it's now narrowed down to Republican Troy Downing and Democrat John Driscoll. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Ambarian spoke to the two candidates about how they're getting their messages out in this sprawling district.
Chances are you've been seeing a ton of political advertising in the race for Montana's U.S. Senate seat. And if you live in western Montana, likely also for the U.S. House seat. But in Montana's Eastern Congressional District, the campaign has played out very differently. Republican candidate Troy Downing, Montana's state auditor, says his campaign is still deciding just how much broadcast advertising to do.
Everybody we talk to is just exhausted from the onslaught of political ads right now. And so, really the question is, how much return you get on that investment when everybody is just starting to turn it off because there's so much of it.
Democratic nominee John Driscoll, a former state lawmaker and public service commissioner, said from the beginning that he'd refuse to accept campaign contributions to make a point that there's too much money in politics.
The first job in Congress is to get rid of all the distractions. And I think a lot of the people who are performing for the public the way they are people that are trying to get money.
The 2nd Congressional District covers much of central and eastern Montana, including Billings, Great Falls, and Helena. Incumbent Congressman Matt Rosendale and former President Donald Trump won by wide margins in this district, and Republicans are considered heavy favorites here. Downing says he's advocating for things like reining in the federal deficit and supporting the natural resource industries. He says he's not taking the race for granted, but he has already been to Washington, D.C. and started meeting with Republicans in the House.
I don't want to be trying to figure out where the water cooler is on day one. I want to make sure on day one we hit the ground running, that we've got a team put together, that I've got the committee picks that I want, the leadership knows who I am, they know what Montana wants, and we can actually get some work done on day one.
Driscoll wants to see abortion rights protected as they were under Roe v. Wade, and says he's willing to take stances that might be unpopular, like expanding nuclear energy development but opposing the Sentinel project to upgrade nuclear missiles. While some have questioned how serious Driscoll's campaign is, he says he has no regrets about how he's run the race.
I'm not conceding at all. I was amazed at how genuinely gracious people from all political backgrounds were to me. And I think it has to do with people being tired of the adversarial aspects of politics.
There are two officially filed write-in candidates in the Eastern District race, Riley Neal and John Metzger. And unlike Driscoll, both of them are actively advertising, Neal with yard signs and Metzger with billboard ads. In Billings, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
The two major party candidates for Montana's western U.S. House seat drew clear distinctions in a candidate forum hosted by MTN. Republican Congressman Ryan Zinke is in his third term representing Montana in the House. Democrat Monica Chanel, an attorney from Missoula, challenged him 2 years ago and is running again this year. During the forum, the candidates debated issues from housing to immigration to education. They also split on abortion. Chanel says she wants to see the rights formerly granted by Roe v. Wade codified into law at the federal level. Zinke says he's pro-life but opposed to a federal abortion ban, and he has reservations about Montana's abortion ballot measure, which would limit regulations when an abortion would protect the mother's health.
Health, what does that mean? Is that physical health? Is this mental health? Is it economic health? No, what it gives is a pathway for abortions to be conducted moments before birth. That's not where Montana is. Restrictions on the front end mean zero is too harsh. Open-ended is barbaric, and Montana is not there.
Since you have been elected to public office in 2008, Ryan, you have always voted for the most extreme restrictions for abortion, for the freedom to choose when and whether you become a family. You voted to make mifepristone illegal to people in the National Guard. So Montanans who are in the National Guard can't get that drug that's legal here in Montana.
The Western Congressional District covers areas including Missoula, Kalispell, Butte, and Bozeman. If you'd like to see the full 30-minute forum, it's available on our website. The ongoing Elk Fire grew 5,048 acres overnight, according to the latest figures from the Rocky Mountain Area Complex Incident Management Team. Evacuation orders in the Rapid Creek area have also been elevated to go status by the Sheridan County Sheriff's Department. The good news is that containment rose from 14% to 32%, mostly along the fire's eastern border. The Incident Management Saturday update also says firing operations have been completed around the Big Goose water treatment plant. They also completed 85 acres of firing operations north of Red Grade Road.
We've been stuck in our warmer than average and drier than average pattern for quite a while, and that's going to continue as we start getting into at least Wednesday. In fact, by Wednesday, we could even see a couple of temperatures challenge daytime record highs. But by the time we start getting later into the week, the temperatures drop off, the chance of rain and even some snow starts to go up. So a definite shift in the overall pattern. So let's take a look and see how things will come together for us. Temperatures will be warm, especially through midweek. The cool down will come quickly as we start getting into Thursday, Friday. In fact, a lot of temperatures, even the morning, will be chilly. Precipitation will start to pick up later in the week, and we're still looking at some smoke from area wildfires. Details on the forecast coming up.
A story MTN has been covering for more than 6 years is about to get some major national attention. The CBS News program 48 Hours investigated the case of Germaine Charlo, who disappeared from Missoula in June of 2018. For more than a year, we've been working with their producers as they met with Germaine's family and friends, area law enforcement, and those active in the MMIP movement. Here now, a preview of Saturday night's program that they hope will break this case open.
On Highway 93 in Montana, it's hard to miss Germaine Charlo's haunting gaze.
She disappeared without a trace.
Nothing.
For Danny Matt and Valinda Morajo, the ordeal began in June 2018 when they couldn't reach their niece, Germaine. Unusual, they say, for the 23-year-old who was never far from her phone.
So I kept calling her.
More than 6 years later, with no sign of Germaine, police released this surveillance video to 48 hours with the hope of generating leads. There's Germaine outside the Badlander Bar in downtown Missoula on Friday, June 15, 2018. Police say the man next to her is Michael DeFrance, Germaine's ex and the father of her 2 children.
You believe Michael DeFrance was the last person to see Germaine Charlo?
That's what the investigation has determined.
Detective Guy Baker says DeFrance told police he dropped Germaine off at a market in Missoula around 1 a.m. But hours later, Baker says Germaine's phone was active on Evero Hill, miles away. Michael DeFrance lived on Evero Hill. Searches in the area did not find Germaine. DeFrance has not been named as a suspect.
Someone out there knows what happened to Germaine Charlo.
And the national spotlight will focus on that missing person in western Montana. It's the story of Germaine Charlo, a 23-year-old Indigenous woman who was last seen in downtown Missoula in June of 2018. MTN's Jill Valley spoke with CBS 48 Hours reporter Michelle Miller about the year-long effort to bring Germaine's story to network television in hopes of solving the case.
Michelle Miller, thank you so much for talking to me today about this really important special on Germaine Charlo. Do these 48-hour specials generate leads? Do people start calling with tips?
They do. They start calling. We solve cases. We gain so much access in this story. Without the cooperation of Germaine Charlo's family, without the cooperation of law enforcement, both tribal law enforcement in Missoula. Perhaps someone somewhere knows something they're not clear that they know about, and that, action and a crack in this case will be had. This isn't usually the kind of story we focus in to begin with. It certainly is the first story that we have engaged in the Indigenous community. And as you well know, part of our mission was this real need. Once we started learning the statistics in Montana, there's the indigenous community, 6% of the population, 24% of the active missing persons cases. The lack of media coverage, and we'll place it on us. Other folks place it in the hands of law enforcement. It just doesn't get the same traction, the media coverage. The voices of those aren't heard in the way other communities are seeing it.
Still to come on the MTN 530 News here on Q2. One group is putting the magic in Magic City as they gear up for spooky season. Stay with us.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 530 News.
Today marks the 20th annual Harvest Festival in downtown Billings. For the last 4 years, the Magic City witch dancers have been adding some color to the fall festivities. Our Marcus Kakova met with a coven who says it's okay to be a little different.
By the pricking of my thumb, something wicked comes this way.
She has one, and she pokes my eye out with hers all the time, so I try to pull her hair.
My very best friend is the man in the moon.
We ask everyone to come up with your witch character, come up with who your persona is for whatever event.
Okay, so not wicked, rather something silly comes this way.
This started because my sister's crazy.
It takes a certain soul to be able to put on a costume and get out there in front of a crowd and dance and perform.
3. The Magic City Witch Dancers is an on-the-street theatrical production that's bonded founding sisters Tanya and Larissa McFeeters.
Actually, this group has made my sister and I even closer than what we were before. It's given us a whole nother look on our relationship and life.
A supportive coven founded just 4 years ago for their 13 members to be whoever they want.
We have brought these ladies into our group. We have made some amazing friends. It's fun to know that there's crazy people out there as we are.
Ladies like Cindy Walters.
For my personality, I can bring that personality out, and I don't have to worry about getting burned at the stake.
She says playing these characters in public has taught her how to feel a little more free.
It's okay to like the unexpected and the unusual.
Marcus Kakova, MTN News.
Well, Ed, this beautiful fall weather is continuing.
That's right. We get some great pictures to prove it, too. I want to thank everybody who submits pictures, weather@ktvq.com, or use our free downloadable app. Jan was out along the still water, and a beautiful day and a beautiful week to be out, but things will change. For a lot of us, that'll be welcome. We'll talk about it when we come back.